Hi, and welcome back to another video in the TNL Tips series, which is focused on some real brief tips that can help you out, whether it's teaching in Canvas or some other aspect of your faculty professional life. So today let's talk about some repetitive tricks that you can use within Canvas. And I'm specifically thinking about you've taught a class in the past, you want to use that class again, but you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. Or another scenario might be it's a brand new class and there are some repetitive structures that you want to create time and again in your class, such as module structures that maybe have the header week 1, week 2, all the way through week 11 if it's a full-term course. So we're going to jump onto Canvas right now and see how you can save a little bit of your time by employing some of these tricks that I'm suggesting to you today. All right, so as we talk about repetitive tasks today, I'm really focused on two areas alone. I'm trying to think about your time and reduce repetitive time because it's very fatiguing and stressful having to do things 100 times if you could do things once or twice or 3 times. And then also physical and mental fatigue. So every time you move your mouse like this, every time you move your trackpad, every time you type on your keyboard or click your mouse, you're dealing with repetitive fatigue issues as well as mental fatigue because it's taking you, again, more time to accomplish something. So a lot of these techniques I'm talking about in Canvas will really hopefully alleviate the time constraints and the physical and mental fatigue issues that we experience while we're doing some of these. And by the way, as we work through my Canvas examples, if you have other examples out there that you use as far as nice shortcuts in Canvas, please let me know. I don't have all the answers. I am constantly learning, as all of you are, when it comes to online teaching. So it's a great opportunity for us to share resources and to pass all of those on to our fellow faculty. So let's work at this from a few different angles, and I'm going to start here with a totally blank class because the repetitive task stuff I'm talking about today primarily will deal with your module structure. Some exception to that, and in fact, I really encourage you to check out some of my other videos. Just pulling up this slide. In particular, one of the repetitive tasks that can be really useful to tackle, particularly in fall 2021, as we're dealing with the Caldor fire and continuation of COVID, is having to do a lot of date adjustments in your class. So you'll find this in my WCS video as well as my adjust dates video, but this is pretty cool. Discover this and try to create a tutorial for you where you can do an entire selection of assignments and adjust all those dates in really 6 steps. Clicking on assignments, clicking on the toolbar here, then edit assignment dates. At that point, you're going to select all your assignments. Then you're going to click the button here called Batch Edit. Then at that point, you will adjust the number of days, hit OK, and everything is automatically saved for you in Canvas. Right here, using these 6 steps will save you maybe a half an hour, if not an hour of work. Because to go in and change all your dates manually, whether they're quizzes or discussions or whatever, is a huge pain. And again, a lot of repetitive stress in terms of your body and also your mind. So that's one example of things. A second example is I encourage you to go to Canvas Commons. Just click on the icon here. Type in LTCC. And I have some things you can import into your class. So this is not maybe repetitive, although it could be. So you can bring in syllabus resources, logos, social media. I even have on here a template. It's not coming up, but Treva has one here. There are templates where you could bring in pages. This is one example here of such a structure. So this is my class schedule I have available for you. And this is just simply creating 11 pages with 11 weeks. So to import this, to save a little bit of time, I'm going to click Import. And then I'm searching for a class, and I believe it's this one here, Test Class. So just choose the class you want to import it into. Choose that. And then scroll down and click Import into Course. And it'll tell you you've done it successfully. It could take a few minutes depending on the size of the resource that you're bringing in. Go back to my class, and I'm sure it's going to tell me that there is an import going on. Actually, it's there. So right there, I saved a little bit of time because now I have 11 weeks of modules. And if you like to organize things according to 11 weeks, what you would do then is go in here and add additional pages. And I could create a page and call it Week 1 Discussion and add item. And then I might have to drag that up here under Week 1. And of course, I'll go in and actually edit the page and do all that kind of fancy stuff. So we're actually at a point where I'm getting into how you can save yourself some time in Canvas. So if you have a predictable structure, and let me show you an example of one such class. By predictability, you can also look at my video on module structure. I kind of get into this entirety of what might you set up for your students such that the predictability helps them with the navigation through the class. So I've done this in a complete redesign of my cultural anthro class. So here's what I mean by predictability. I have a header that I'm using just the header option when you go to Canvas and you add the text header. Very nice way to establish, just like in a book, subheads or a table of contents with various size heading. And by the way, you can also take advantage here of the indent function. I'm using the indent function here, right here, decrease or increase indent, to make this text pop a little bit. So the predictability of the structure is as following. I have the main topic as a header. I then have learning objectives and readings. If I have additional readings, that's included. I have media, lecture, any introductory assignments like a biography, introduce yourself, discussions, and quiz. And then down below, Jamboard and Zoom session. So you notice for every single week in the class, they appear in the exact same place. I don't have my Jamboard up here. I have it all the time near the bottom, second from the bottom or very bottom. I always have my topics first, and then the objectives, and then the reading, then additional readings, media, lecture, discussions. It's the same structure every single week because predictability creates good graphic user interface or user design in terms of how your students interact with your Canvas class. We sometimes assume that because Canvas exists as this amazing LMS that the work is done for you. In fact, it's not. And we probably don't spend enough time talking about this level of training or course design for course success in terms of your students. So with this predictability in mind, I'm going to then use this opportunity to deal with repetitive tasks in a way that reduces the time I spend on it and the number of clicks on my mouse in terms of carpal fatigue issues. So for every week, I'm going to have a week 1 discussion. This is not the same model that you just saw with my Anthro class. I'm trying to show you a simplified version of this. So one of the things I can do, I say, well, now I need my week 2 discussion. And of course, I haven't gone in. This is a totally blank page. I'm going to edit that and then add the information about the discussions. And then maybe later, I'll add an actual discussion board tab from my discussions here, all in my module structure. Again, you can do this all from the module structure. You don't have to jump around and click on the quiz and click on the discussion to add new items. You can do it all from the comfort of Canvas here by just adding any of those elements. So now you might say, well, okay, I need to now go in and add week 2 discussion. So I'll add that item and I'll just select a page and let's just pretend here I will type it in new, week 2 discussion. Okay, well, I've just done a lot of clicks there. I've created my item, but are there some things I can do to shorten the amount of time I spend on this and the number of clicks, whether mouse clicks or clicks on the keyboard? And the answer is yes, and this is where we get into some of the tricks of Canvas. So one option is when I'm going to add week 3 discussion, create page, look at this, it already comes up. Week 3 discussion. I'm just changing that to week 3. And then I can scroll up here. And by the way, I can do a better version of this by first creating larger module units for each week. And then I can actually do that all within that module. So in other words, what I've done here is I have one class schedule. Maybe a better way to do that is to have separate modules called week 1, week 2, and so forth. So this is kind of maybe a little more convoluted way of approaching this, but I'm just doing this for the purpose of illustrating things. So then I go to my next one and I type week 4 discussion. Okay, and again, I only had to type or change one thing. I changed the 3 to a 4. So I'm already reducing the repetition of having to type out new things, the boredom of it, the fatigue, all that kind of stuff. Now, here's a little trick. So I'm creating new pages here. Let's say I create a different page title. Okay, so I'm going to say week 1 quiz, and this will have my week 1 quiz instructions. Okay, and then I'll move that to week 1 quiz. All right. Now I say, oh wait, I want to continue. I'm going to do week 5 discussion. Okay, so I'll go to add a new page. Oh wait, the word discussion is gone, so I could go up here and do it that way, add that, but that's actually already an existing page. I want a brand new page. So I can do week 5, and I type week 5, and then I have to select this. And again, number of characters here of typing is increasing because of the fact that Canvas is remembering the last instance in terms of the text that I entered. So one tip I have for you right now is really try to avoid jumping around with different types of content. If you know you're going to have a discussion board with instructions and a page for that for 11 weeks of the class, you really want to complete all your week 1 discussion creations as far as those pages prior to moving on to the other task. Because once again, Canvas remembers the last text instance in terms of the memory here on that page. So the easiest thing to do would be to do all your discussions. I do my week 6 next, and I just have to change one character. Change the 5 to a 6. That's really easy to do. If you jump around and do these, and believe me, I've done it that old-fashioned way, the ineffective way, and it just is awful in terms of the time, the fatigue, the clicking. You get, eventually I will get little calluses almost where I'm using my mouse on my keyboard table or whatever. So, you really want to try to reduce the amount of time that you spend on this if it's a super repetitive task. So that's one bit of advice. Now, let's look at a second option here, because in fact, you can also do this via pages, and this might be even quicker. I'm doing this via the module structure, and I'm adding a new item here, a brand new page every time, and then I'm changing some text here. So let's try it a different way. Let's click on any page in our module structure, and I'm going to want to click View All Pages. This is where we view all the pages for the class. What's nice about this is you can start to get into maybe some greater simplicity. So let's go to Add Page. What you see now is, because of all the previous versions of creating pages at this view, again, don't ask me why it doesn't do it at the module view, words are coming up that I've typed in the past. So week 6 videos, week 6 readings. It doesn't, and, oh, wait, we do have week 6 discussion. It's not letting me select the whole thing, but there we go. Okay, so week 6 discussion or week 6 discussion. So I can select the one I want. I can hit save or save and publish, doesn't matter which. Let's just hit save for now. So then I could, unfortunately I do have another click here. I have to go to view all pages again, and then click on the right view page. Again, what I'm looking at here is user interface. I'm thinking like, how can I save myself time, taking advantage of not having to do a lot of clicks, and then also not having to do a lot of typing, because Canvas is remembering for me, and I'm just typing the D here. Oops, I need a space. Typing the D, and there it is. Okay, week 7 discussions. So it's remembering everything I've done in this class as far as typing in the past. And in fact, it might actually be, because I did a reset on this class, it might be remembering this text memory from all my Canvas classes, because week 7 discussions reopened is something I know I typed in a class, I think it was a couple years ago. So that's kind of cool. I can hit save again. So if you find this easier because it's filling in the text on the View All Pages view, go ahead and do it there. Now we can also go back to our modules, and let's see here. I think, now the only issue here is, see, I just added another step. The only issue is, of course, it didn't put it in my module structure. So what I need to do is, at this point, click on Add Page. What I want is to choose my week 7 discussion and add item. Okay, and then I actually have to move it. Again, I didn't do this setup maybe as great as I could have, because I wanted to have 11 separate modules instead of one big module here, but I'm just doing this for the sake of illustration. Because again, I imported one module with 11 pages. I would recommend 11 modules, each with the title of a week 1 through week 11, if you choose that structure. So actually, that probably took a little bit more time. It did fill in the week 7 discussion characters for me in terms of the text. I had to click here to add it, and then I had to drag it up. So again, start to think about what is the best solution for you. Play around with this a bit and figure out how can you save time in terms of repetitive tasks. Now, you might be asking, what about the copy or duplicate function? So I want to copy week 7 discussion. How is that going to work? Well, let's try the duplicate. Duplicate. And we have week 7 discussion copy. Notice that I can click and edit here and change that, say, to week 8, because that's really what I'm getting at. My next instance is week 8 discussion in terms of the text. First, I would drag it to where I want, and then I do have to click one time and hit edit. And when I hit edit, I know this is really geeky and nerdy, but I'm thinking about clicks. I click once to delete copy, okay? So that's click on the mouse, click on the delete key. Third click is getting my cursor placed here. Fourth or fifth click, and sixth is typing week 8 discussion. Sounds totally silly, but I'm really trying to think about earnestly how you can reduce repetition in your work in Canvas. So that is maybe equal to some of the previous ones. I think for me, the easiest still is probably doing these all in a row, all the pages that I want for my discussions. My next one, I believe, is week 9. Is it going to fill it in? It won't. It didn't remember it. It does, I think, if you misspell it. I think that's just my keyboard trying to fix the spelling of it. So that is another way to shorten your time. If you accept the, like right there, just hit space, at least on a Mac, and it changes the misspelled word to discussion. And then it's right here, week 9 discussion. Again, I want to do these in succession. I want to keep adding these because all I have to do right here is click my cursor position, hit 10. I'm now going to hit the return key. I'm not even going to click a mouse key here because I really think a return key is easier and less stress on your hands, because using a mouse, you're clicking, your fingers are involved, and also the palm of your hand is getting involved in just stress and abrasion in terms of, it being on your keyboard desk and so forth. I know it sounds silly, but it's totally legit if you're working on a long class and you're doing it in a short period of time. So I think that is going to save you some time in terms of repetitive tasks. I think from what we've maybe problem solved here in real time, the easiest solution is to go to add an item under a module. If you're doing a series of pages, do those all at once. So do all your discussions, and then the next time around you can do the quiz. So let's see, are we on week 2 quiz? Week 2 quiz, add item. Again, this is not great because I'm having to drag things all the way up. Better ways to do this, but you get the idea. Now, let's go to week 3 quiz. And again, we just don't even have to click down here. We click once to put our cursor there, click again, delete key, type in the 3, hit add item with your mouse or hit the return key, and the thing is done for you. So what I would say is do all these in a row. If you have predictability, like I expressed to you in the Cultural Anthro class, and you have to recreate a media link or a media page for every week, a lecture page for every week, a reading page for every week, first thing you should do is create your module structure. Do all the repetitive tasks, literally for every single week, for every single item. So after I do my quizzes, I would go back in and do week 1 reading, week 2 reading, week 3 all the way through week 11. And then when I'm completely done with this architecture or structure of my class, I'm going to go in and then actually do all the items here. And the interesting thing about this is you can save some time there too, because when you click on pages, you can find, depending on your sorting here, all of the items of the same type. And again, you can click on page title, ascending, descending, creation date, last edit. Use that to your advantage to save repetitive stress as well. Because if you can group all your quizzes in one area and you can then click one quiz, edit that, click the next one, and edit that item. And so you can play around with this, but I think it's really going to save you some time if you work first on your module structure, create all those repetitive items all at once, taking advantage of that auto feature where Canvas is automatically keeping the text from the last page that you created. And it actually didn't in this case because I moved away from the module structure, so it's another reason to do those all at once before you move away to other parts of your Canvas shell. So I don't know if that helps you. It's helped me as I've redone this entire class from scratch for fall 2021. I'm hoping it works. I'm hoping it's going to lead to better student success. But my real concern for everyone is, as we talked about earlier, let's try to reduce repetitive tasks. Let's try to reduce the effects of dragging our time and affecting us mentally and also physically in terms of fatigue from clicking on the keyboard and our mouse and our trackpads. So that's it today. If you have other ideas on how to reduce repetitive tasks in Canvas, reach out and I'll be happy to pass those on to the faculty here at the college. Okay, that's it today here in the TLNL Tips video. Please come back for additional videos in this series.